How did the children of Adam, who knew Allah with true knowledge, turn into a people among whom immorality and adultery appeared for the first time in human history? And how did Iblis, Satan, succeed in corrupting the hearts of people who lived according to the law of the Prophet of Allah, Adam, peace be upon him? Have you ever imagined that the first great sin did not begin with the power of the sword, nor by compulsion, but began with a small step, with a sound that pleased the ears, and a sight that captivated the eyes? And then that step turned into a temptation that shook all of humanity. It is a story that takes us back to a time when there were no great cities, no kingdoms, and no numerous nations. Rather, all people were from the progeny of Adam, peace be upon him. Yet, they divided into people of obedience and people of disobedience, and the first conflict between truth and falsehood began as the first steps of Satan in misguiding man appeared. So, who is the prophet of Allah, Seth, peace be upon him? How did he preserve the message of his father, Adam? What were the events that led to the occurrence of the first crime of adultery in history? And how did the prophet of Allah, Idris, peace be upon him, come after him to renew the call of monotheism, Tawhid, and resist corruption? These are momentous events, where what is proven by divine revelation intertwines with what is narrated in history books. We will narrate them faithfully, clarifying what is established and what belongs to the narrations over which scholars differed. So let us go back thousands of years to the beginning, to the first days of humanity after the passing of Adam, peace be upon him. Welcome to our mysterious journey today. I am Dodi, and together we will uncover the hidden depths of history and the secrets of the past. Welcome to the Dodi drama world, where every story is a doorway to another realm. Join our growing family now. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to be the first to experience the magic of our tales. The story of the Prophet of Allah, Seth, peace be upon him. After the first murder on earth took place, when Cain, killed his brother Abel, Adam, peace be upon him, lived in deep grief over what had updates his family. After some time, Allah blessed him with another son, whom he named Seth. It is said that his name means the gift of Allah, because he came as a compensation for Abel. Seth, peace be upon him, is not mentioned by name in the Holy Quran, but many scholars of knowledge have recorded his accounts in books of history and exegesis, Tafsir. It is narrated that Allah chose him as a prophet after the passing of Adam, peace be upon him, and that scriptures, were revealed to him to guide the people, narrations well known among historians. When Adam's death approached, he counseled his son Seth to fear Allah, maintain the call to monotheism, teach people what Allah had commanded, and avoid the path of the corrupt. When Adam, peace be upon him, passed away, Seth carried the trust. People gathered around him because he was among the best of Adam's children in character and knowledge, and the closest to his father's guidance. Seth, peace be upon him, called people to worship Allah alone, clarified what was permissible, halal, and forbidden, haram, and raised them upon righteousness, chastity, and noble manners. He was deeply concerned with keeping the believers holding fast to the religion of Allah, far removed from corruption. According to well-known narrations, he forbade his followers from mixing with the people of Cain due to the sins and bad morals that had appeared among them, fearing that the temptation would spread to the people of faith. But Satan was not about to leave the children of Adam alone. How adultery began for the first time in human history. The followers of the Prophet of Allah, Seth, peace be upon him, resided in the mountains, living a life of obedience and chastity, dedicated to worship and the remembrance of Allah. As for the descendants of Cain, they settled in the plains, and historians of prophetic biographies mention that corruption began to spread among them little by little. Seth, peace be upon him, used to forbid his companions from descending to the plains, warning them against mixing with the people of corruption. He knew that hearts are weak, and that Satan enters souls through small steps, eventually leading them to destruction. Iblis was watching this situation closely, having sworn to misguide the children of Adam as much as he could. When he saw that the people of faith abstained from sin, he did not approach them by calling to adultery directly, knowing they would reject it. Instead, he took the path he still takes with humans to this very day, the path of gradualism. Narrations state that he took the form of a young man and entered among the people of Cain. He began to invent things they had never known before. He crafted instruments that produced melodies and sounds, and established a festival season for them to gather for amusement, play, and adornment. These gatherings grew day by day until they became the center of attention. One day, the winds carried the sounds of those melodies to the inhabitants of the mountains. Some of them wondered at their strangeness and wanted to know what was happening in the plains. A few of them went down, not to disobey Allah, but merely to look. And here, the very first step of Satan took place. Sin rarely begins with committing the forbidden act right away. Rather, it begins with a glance, followed by curiosity, then habituation, then attraction, until that which the soul once found monstrous becomes easy to do. The narrations mention that the women of Cain's people used to display their adornments, which fascinated some of the men from the mountains. Similarly, some women were captivated by the strength and beauty of Seth's men. One of the men returned to his people and began talking about what he saw, describing the adornments and beauty, causing the hearts of the weak to long for what they heard. It did not take long before more of them descended to the plains and mixed with its people. The boundaries that once separated the people of obedience from the people of disobedience began to fade away bit by bit. At that point, according to these narrations, the first crime of adultery in human history occurred. This crime was not the result of a single moment. It was the fruit of a chain of compromises that started with listening, followed by looking, then mixing, and finally unleashing desires until they fell into immorality. Here, a profound meaning emphasized by the Holy Quran becomes manifest. Allah Almighty did not merely say, "Do not commit adultery," but rather He said, "And do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse."
Surah Al-Isra 32.
Meaning, do not even come near the path that leads to it, nor the causes that result in it. Major sins almost always begin with steps that a person deems insignificant. As days passed, the number of people leaving the mountains to go down to the plains increased. Corruption widened, the people of faith weakened, and the people of falsehood became more powerful and influential. The matter did not stop at immorality. Historians mention that the corrupt began harming the believers, assaulting them, and spreading evil across the land. When the tribulation intensified, corruption multiplied, and the followers of Seth, peace be upon him, grew weak, the end of this noble prophet's life drew near. Some narrations mention that he left his testament to his son Anush, and then passed away to the mercy of Allah, after having delivered the trust and conveyed the message of his Lord. But Allah, glory be to him, did not leave humanity without guidance. The Prophet of Allah, Idris, Enoch, peace be upon him, after the people of faith grew weak and corruption spread widely among mankind, Allah did not leave his servants without guidance. Instead, He chose for them a noble prophet who combined knowledge, wisdom, and truthfulness, the Prophet of Allah, Idris, peace be upon him. Allah Almighty mentioned his name in the Holy Quran in 2 places, saying, "And mention in the book Idris. Indeed, he was a man of truth and a prophet, and we raised him to a high station." Surah Maryam 56-57. And He, the Almighty, said, "And mention Ishmael and Idris and Hul, Kifl. All were of the patient. and we admitted them into our mercy. Indeed, they were of the righteous.
Surah Al-Anbiya 85-86.
These noble verses are sufficient to show the high status of this noble prophet. Allah described him with siddiqiyah, absolute truthfulness, which is one of the highest ranks of faith, then honor him with prophethood, and then informed us that he raised him to a high station. Historians mention that Idris's name before his prophethood was Enoch, Ochnik, and that he was from the lineage of the prophet of Allah, Seth. He is Idris, son of Jared, Yered, son of Mahalalel, Malaiel, son of Kenan, Kainan, son of Enosh, Anush, son of Seth, Shith, son of Adam, peace be upon them all. It is said that he was born while Adam, peace be upon him, was still alive and lived during some years of his life. Allah sent him as a prophet after the passing of Adam and Seth. He was named Idris because of his abundant study, dirasa, of what Allah revealed to him of the scriptures and his intense dedication to knowledge and worship. He, peace be upon him, spent his hours between reciting revelation, teaching people, calling to Allah, and working with his own hands. He did not depend on anyone for his livelihood. Scholars mention that he was the first to sew and tailor clothes. Before him, people used to wear animal skins. Idris, peace be upon him, taught them how to work and raised them to understand that earning a lawful living is an act of worship. Every time he drove the needle into the cloth, he would remember and praise Allah. His tongue never tired of remembrance, and his heart was never heedless of his Lord. His call revolved around the fundamentals of religion. He called people to the monotheistic worship of Allah, to abandon immoralities, establish prayer, fast, give charity, and purify their souls from malice, arrogance, and envy. He would always remind them that this world is a place of passage, not a permanent abode, and that the wise person is the one who works for the hereafter before death takes them by surprise. Idris, peace be upon him, was famous for his wisdom, his numerous sermons, and his beautiful eloquence. He called people with gentleness and wisdom, showing them that true happiness lies not in accumulating worldly wealth, but in obeying Allah and seeking His pleasure. Some scholars mentioned that Allah revealed 30 scriptures to him, a well-known narration in history books, though Allah knows best its authenticity. The confrontation and the end. With the passage of time, the people of corruption grew bolder. They were no longer satisfied with merely spreading sins. They began attacking the believers, harming them, and trying to prevent them from worshiping Allah. Idris, peace be upon him, kept his followers firm, calling them to patience, steadfastness, and adherence to the religion of Allah. He taught them that the truth might appear weak at first, but the ultimate victory always belongs to the righteous. Some historical accounts mention that he was among the first to organize the affairs of society, encouraging justice, accurate weights and measures, and teaching people what would benefit their livelihoods. However, these specific details are not backed by definitive, authentic texts. As for the statement of Allah Almighty, and we raised him to a high station, scholars have differed over its interpretation. One group said, what is meant is an elevation of status, honor, and remembrance in this world and the hereafter. Others said, rather, Allah physically raised him to the heavens. They find support for this in what is established in the Sahihain, Bukhari, and Muslim, that the Prophet saw Idris, peace be upon him, in the fourth heaven on the night of the night journey and ascension, Al-Isra wal Miraj. As for how he was raised, and whether he died on earth or in the heavens, these are matters concerning which no decisive, authentic text exists. Therefore, it is correct to stop at what was mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah without making definitive claims about what has not been proven. With this concludes the biography of a great prophet, whom Allah praised in His book and made an example in truthfulness, knowledge, patience, worship, and steadfastness upon the call to truth, despite the abundant corruption around him. Lessons to live by. Thus ends the story of the prophets of Allah, Seth and Idris, peace be upon them. But the moral of this story never ends. How similar yesterday is to today. Iblis has not changed, and his vow to misguide the children of Adam still stands. But he does not start with a human by pushing them into major sins. He begins with a small step, then drags them to what is greater. A glance followed by another glance, a moment of heedlessness followed by another, and a compromise that invites another compromise, until a person finds themselves far from the path of Allah without even realizing it. For this reason, Allah, glory be to Him, commanded us saying, "O you who have believed, do not follow the footsteps of Satan. And whoever follows the footsteps of Satan, indeed, he enjoins immorality and wrongdoing." Surah An-Nur 21. The Quran did not just say, "Do not follow Satan," but rather, "Do not follow his footsteps, because destruction does not come all at once. It begins with a step, then another, and another, until a person drifts far from their Lord." This story teaches us that faith is a great blessing that requires constant nurturing. If the heart is not filled with the remembrance of Allah, heedlessness will occupy it, and if it is not busied with truth, it will be busied with falsehood. How similar yesterday is to today. Iblis has not changed, and his vow to misguide the children of Adam still stands. But he does not start with a human by pushing them into major sins. He begins with a small step, then drags them to what is greater. A glance followed by another glance, a moment of heedlessness followed by another, and a compromise that invites another compromise, until a person finds themselves far from the path of Allah without even realizing it. For this reason, Allah, glory be to Him, commanded us saying, "O you who have believed, do not follow the footsteps of Satan. And whoever follows the footsteps of Satan, indeed, he enjoins immorality and wrongdoing." Surah An-Nur 21. The Quran did not just say, "Do not follow Satan," but rather, "Do not follow his footsteps, because destruction does not come all at once. It begins with a step, then another, and another, until a person drifts far from their Lord." This story teaches us that faith is a great blessing that requires constant nurturing. If the heart is not filled with the remembrance of Allah, heedlessness will occupy it, and if it is not busied with truth, it will be busied with falsehood. Just as the Prophet of Allah, Seth, peace be upon him, taught us that a believer protects his religion and stays away from the causes of temptation, fitna. The Prophet of Allah, Idris, peace be upon him, taught us that knowledge, work, truthfulness, and patience are the foundations of salvation in this world and the hereafter. Among the greatest lessons we take from this journey is that falsehood may appear powerful at times, corruption may spread, and temptations may multiply, but Allah never leaves the truth without people to carry it. Nor does He waste the reward of the reformers. So remain steadfast in obedience to Allah, hold fast to His book and the Sunnah of His Prophet, and beware of every path that distances you from your Lord, for the ultimate victory is for the righteous. Finally, we ask Allah, glory be to Him, to grant us beneficial knowledge, righteous deeds, and steadfastness upon His religion, to make us among His righteous servants, and to gather us with the prophets, the truthful, the martyrs, and the righteous, and excellent are those as companions. Thank you for watching today's tale on Dodi Drama. I hope this story touched your hearts and enlightened your minds. Always remember to carry the lesson within your hearts. If you loved this world, join our growing family. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can continue this magical journey together.